And now that the NBA playoffs are officially here, as I always say, the real NBA season begins, and we get to see who are the best players in the NBA because the regular season is somewhat Mickey Mouse. We get to see who has the clutch gene, who can make the shot to win the game in the moment. And this list is going to fluctuate as it always does from April to June because playoff players rise every single year. Now, this list, as always, that I do here on Brandon's World right before the NBA playoffs is just including the players in the playoffs. So it does not include the likes of Victor Wembanyama. It does not include the likes of Kevin Durant. And I got to tell you, this year, because of some players' history, whether that be performance or injury related or whatever it may be, this year was the hardest year of them all to come up with at least the bottom of the list. I think 1 through about 7, we can argue on order, and I'm going to fight back because I think the playoffs matter more than the regular season. And I think the clutch gene matters more in the regular season. And I do think injury history does matter. So we can fight on the order here. But 8 through 10, man, you can make an argument for a lot of people depending on how you view and depending on the qualifications of your list. So let's start with maybe the only unarguable point. Nikola Jokic, number 15 for the Denver Nuggets, is the best basketball player in the world. I don't care about the fact that he's scoring 60 points and his team is losing. The man is unstoppable. Now, I will be fair here. You guys remember going into the 2023 NBA playoffs 2 years ago, I did not have Nikola Jokic as even the best center in the NBA. I thought at the time it was Joel Embiid, and again, Jokic at that time had an MVP, and obviously he went on to win Finals MVP that year. And I said, and this is going to be very similar to SGA this year for Oklahoma City. The NBA is a prove it in the playoffs type league because playoff basketball is so much different than the regular season. Then until I anoint you as this all-world player, because we've seen players like Derrick Rose win MVP, we've seen players like a James Harden win MVP. Even Kevin Durant had won MVP, did not end up going on to win the finals that year, right? So I need to see you do it, and I need to see you go for a full playoff, full 4 rounds, be the best player on your team, undisputably, be the best player on the court, undisputably, for me to even call you the best player in the world or top 3 at this point. Maybe a little bit of a spoiler alert, but that's where I'm at with SGA. Jokic proved it for me in the 2023 playoffs. Ever since then, he's been so dominant. His ability to get 30, 20, and 20 triple doubles is unmatched. It's not Mickey Mouse the way his teammate Russell Westbrook used to do, where he used to cherry pick rebounds at the end of games to get triple doubles. This guy may be, and I'm dead serious on this, even at his slow athletic speed. Imagine if he had better speed. He may be the most unguardable player in the history of the NBA. And the weird thing about Jokic is basketball, folks, is his hobby. Imagine if he put 365 days effort into the sport. Now, this is where we have our debate. Number 2 best player going into the NBA playoffs, I believe, is 40-year-old LeBron James for the Los Angeles Lakers. Because out of all the guys left, there's only one person, Steph Curry, who's obviously on this list. Find out where I have him here in a little bit. Steph is the only person on the rest of my list that even pales in comparison to the resume of LeBron James. And I know there's great players out there, right? Like a Luka, like SGA, like an Anthony Edwards, who we talked about really stormed on the scene last year. Some people like Jason Tatum more than I do. But the bottom line is, On any given night, in my opinion, LeBron James, right behind Nikola Jokic, is still the best player in basketball. He may not be able to defend at a high level for 40 minutes per game, but ever since the Luka trade, and really all year, LeBron has had another great year. No, he didn't average 25 points a game. He averaged 24.2 this year. First time since his rookie year, he did not average 25 points a game, but his assists are up. He's flying around. He's making really great IQ basketball plays. And ever since JJ Redick has been instituted as the Lakers head coach, his defense, in my opinion, JJ has allowed him to reinvigorate himself, recommit himself to that end of the floor. LeBron is just you can't doubt him. He's had undoubtable clutch moments this year, including the tip in a couple weeks ago to beat Indiana. LeBron on any given night, I still think can be the best player in the world, or at least right behind Jokic. And I think his teammate Luka Doncic is right behind him. Again, the resume for LeBron, in my opinion, puts him ahead of Luka. Also, the fact that LeBron doesn't bitch as much to the officials as Luka. And Luka came on, in my opinion, last year in the playoffs, where again, until he reached that stage in the NBA Finals, I doubted him. People kept saying he was a top two, top three player in the NBA. I did not see it because you have to be able to reach that stage, in my opinion, to be considered in that conversation. Luka single-handedly with his triple doubles, along with good play from Kyrie Irving and Daniel Gafford and Derek Lively and those guys over there, carried the Dallas Mavericks past the Minnesota Timberwolves to the NBA Finals. And Luka this year, ever since getting traded over to LA, and he's been able to refocus. And when him and LeBron are on the court together, they are such a dynamic duo offensively. They are so hard to stop. We know about Luka's scoring ability, but Luka, even more maybe so than LeBron, has that knack to get at least the assist, if not the rebounds. He's a very good rebounder for his 6'3" size. Outside of LeBron, I think he is the best passer in basketball. He's almost an international version of LeBron. He just does not have the resume yet. And again, I do think he needs some bitching to officials in the postseason, and he's a trash talker, and he's great. And I think that LeBron will eventually want to pass the torch to Luka. And if the Lakers are going to win the championship this year, or at least get to the finals, as I predict, Luka will probably have to become their best player at some point down the stretch here to win a championship. But me and my buddy Josh Unger over at Championship Rings, we did an article that's out now about where these guys, these young guys, SGA, Victor Wembanyama, Luka, even a Jokic, superstars in the NBA that are 30 years or younger, where are they going to be at in their career 5 years from now? And what I said about Luka is if he wins the Lakers a championship, because the Lakers are such a big brand, because he got traded over, because he's with LeBron, I think you can make an argument he would become the second or third best Laker of all time, right there with Kobe Bryant and Magic Johnson, even over Kareem. Just because of the statistics, I do think Luka may be entering the conversation as the third best shooting guard ever. He's already better than James Harden, in my opinion, because he at least got to the NBA Finals by leading his team to the NBA Finals. I think it will now go Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, Luka Doncic as the three best shooting guards of all time. I think Luka's already better than Dwayne Wade. Yes, Dwayne Wade had the hardware, but outside of the year with Miami where he and Shaq led them to that championship over Dallas, you never thought of Dwayne Wade, in my opinion, as a dominant force, best shooting guard in the sport. Maybe it hurt him that he was playing in the same timeline as Kobe Bryant. Number four is Steph Curry, who has had a resurgence ever since Golden State went out and got Jimmy Butler. The Warriors have become a different team. Steph and the Warriors went from an afterthought with a great player all the way to depending on their draw in the playoffs, they have a chance to go far. And Steph has had an incredible season. Again, nobody has replicated Steph Curry, though they have tried. Steph Curry has completely changed the NBA. He's gone 3-1 in head-to-head NBA finals against LeBron James. Steph's injury history over the last few years, I think, docks him a little bit, and sometimes like the game a couple weeks ago against Houston, where he scored only 3 points in the game. He has these weird stretches where, unlike Luka and unlike LeBron and unlike Jokic, he can go cold, and most of that has to do with shooting. And Steph, outside of 2022 when he won Finals MVP and beat Boston, um, he hasn't really shown the ability, or even in that 2019 series, right, where he's going up against Kawhi Leonard and the Raptors, and he lost Klay Thompson, and it was mostly him and Nick Nurse doing a box and one, and Steph couldn't rise to the occasion. So even though his team has defeated LeBron 3 out of 4 NBA Finals, I still view LeBron as the better player because Steph sometimes goes in stretches where he disappears. We all remember 2016, game 5, 6, and 7 in the NBA Finals. But Steph is so undoubtedly a godly talent, and there's a reason why the Warriors' contention is still open, and it's mostly because of him. So I do have SGA at number 5, who's going to be the MVP this year, and he's had an incredible year, and the Thunder have had an incredible year. They had the best record in the NBA and all that. As I mentioned with Nikola Jokic, SGA has to prove himself because right now he is nowhere near the resume of a Nikola Jokic, of a LeBron James, of a Luka Doncic, of a Steph Curry. As a matter of fact, Luka and the Mavericks beat SGA and the Thunder head to head last year in 6 games in the Western Conference semifinals, where SGA did disappear in game 6. He has had a meteoric rise where he actually got traded from the Clippers after his rookie year to the Thunder. And who would have thought he became, in many media members' eyes, a top 2, top 3 player. Some people have him over Nikola Jokic as the best player in basketball, which I actually think is ludicrous. This is no disrespect to the younger generation. This is no disrespect to Shea Gilgeous-Alexander. I think he's a very good player. I think he's great. I just don't know how great he is. A lot like, as I mentioned, Anthony Edwards last year in the postseason really came on at 22 years old, led his team to the Western Conference Finals. There was times where people were comparing him to the mentality of Michael Jordan last year. Could SGA have that same outbreaking performance, a breakout, I should say, performance in the NBA playoffs? He can. I just need to see it. Now, 6 and 7 are interchangeable. They're basically the same player. Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum for the Boston Celtics. You guys know I have Jaylen Brown over Jason Tatum because Jaylen Brown not only won the NBA Finals MVP, Jaylen Brown has been historically more clutch than Jason Tatum. When push comes to shove, when it's time to make the shot in the moment to win the game, Jason Tatum has awfully fell flat. When no pressure is on Jason Tatum can put up 30. He's a very long wing. He can be a top 5 player in the sport on occasions, as can Jaylen Brown. I do think they both need each other, but at the end of the day, Jaylen Brown, as the hardware in terms of Finals MVP, he is more clutch. Though this year, I would say Jason Tatum has had the better year. Maybe it's a good thing for Boston. Jason Tatum does feel disrespected. And maybe it's just the fact that Jason Tatum doesn't have the personality like a Jaylen Brown. He's very quiet and he does not come across as a quiet assassin or a quiet killer. He just comes across as like a Kevin Durant type that just likes to hoop and doesn't really care about his legacy to me. He's still a very good player. He can be a good player, but I just don't know if I can have him right now over Jaylen Brown in a playoff scenario because of the clutch gene. Now, as I mentioned, 8 for 10 was the toughest back and forth discussion that I've had in the 4 year history I've been doing this. Top 10 players that are currently going to be playing in the NBA playoff segment here on Brandon's World. Because you have players like John Moran, you have players like Jimmy Butler, you have players like Kawhi Leonard, you have players like Giannis Antetokounmpo, you have players like Anthony Edwards. You have players like Jamal Murray. You have players like Donovan Mitchell. And, you know, based off their history of the last couple years, based off maybe off the court issues, based off injuries, based off performance. This was back and forth, unbelievably tight, and you can make an argument for any of these players. Let me start with number eight, who I think is Donovan Mitchell. And this is a little bit of a projection because last year going into the playoffs, I did not, or I had Donovan Mitchell somewhat in this spot, and then I took him off after he had, in my opinion, what was a lackluster postseason. He did not play well outside of game seven against the Magic in the first round, and then obviously he goes down in the Boston Celtics series. But there is a reason why this Cleveland Cavaliers team is the number one seed in the Eastern Conference. There is a reason why I predict this Cleveland Cavaliers team will not only make the NBA Finals against their former teammate, their former franchise savior in LeBron James, but why they will win the 2024-2025 NBA championship. And it is because of number 45 Spider, who many people have compared him to Dwayne Wade. His game is very similar. Obviously, Dwayne Wade, who was a minority owner of the Utah Jazz, you could really see the resemblance in Mitchell's game when he was in Utah. I think he has his Dwayne Wade moment. And I think Evan Mobley will come alive. And as you heard in my conversation with Christian in last week, I think Evan Mobley will be on this list potentially by the time we get to the end of the season and we ranked up 10 players overall in the NBA because Evan Mobley may become a beast. But for right now, Donovan Mitchell is the best player on the Cavs, and the team with the number one seed that has the best record cannot be in a top 10 list. You can't have not a top 10 player in the NBA and be the number one seed in the conference and be picked to win the NBA championship, in my opinion. So this is a little more projection. I like Donovan Mitchell. Now, I can't keep Giannis off this list. I have him at nine. As much as I really fought to actually have him off this list. Now, his stats over the past couple of weeks has been phenomenal. Even without Damian Lillard, Milwaukee has surged a little bit into that number five seed where they're going to be taking on Indiana in the first round. But Giannis has missed the last two postseasons. Matter of fact, he's missed nine of the Milwaukee Bucks' last 12 games. And the problem is, as I mentioned earlier in my NBA playoff predictions, in the Eastern Conference, it's the Cavs and the Celtics. And Giannis, a few years ago, when he won the NBA Finals MVP, was the undisputed at that time best player in the world. There was thoughts that alongside Drew Holiday, the Milwaukee Bucks, and Chris Middleton for that measure, and Bobby Portis and Brook Lopez and those guys, the Milwaukee Bucks could have a potential dynasty out in the Eastern Conference. But ever since then, Giannis has been hurt, or Chris Middleton has been hurt, or they've gone out and gotten Damian Lillard, who has not been the same player the way he was in Portland. And the Bucks have sort of disappeared into the ether, where it's like they're a good team, but nobody expects them to go on a championship run because Giannis does not have that dog in him to lead a team to a championship. And as a matter of fact, even 2 years ago, when they were the number one seed, they got beat by the Miami Heat in 5 games. The one game they won in that series, Milwaukee that is the game Giannis Antetokounmpo has not played. So I think his legacy ever since 2021 has taken a big hit. I don't think right now he's in that conversation with Jokic, LeBron, Luka, Steph, SGA. I think at best he is the sixth best player in the NBA. And in my opinion, after this year, because I don't think Milwaukee's going to do anything in the playoffs, this is where projections come in. I think he is way behind Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, and Donovan Mitchell as guys you think of because he will not be on that stage again. Giannis is turning into Joel Embiid with a championship. That's what he is. And at number 10, listen, I could have put a guy like Kawhi Leonard out there who has the resume, won a championship in San Antonio, won a championship in Toronto. He went to the Clippers and it's been an abject disaster. The best year they had with him on the team is when he was hurt. So like Giannis, and he's going to end up banging knees in the postseason and he's going to be out relatively soon. Kawhi Leonard is a special player, but I don't trust him to even play 3 games in these NBA playoffs, so I can't have him on the list. Ever since playoff Jimmy took the Miami Heat to the NBA Finals in that 2023 run against Denver and Gabe Vincent and Max Strus and Caleb Martin, they all went crazy along with Bam and Jimmy. Jimmy Butler until he went to Golden State. I don't know if he was just done with Miami. I don't know what it was. That was a weird situation. He's been good in Golden State, though you don't think of him as like a top end player right next to Steph. He has sort of regressed a little bit, I would say, down to that 12, 13 range. Much I love John Moran, I love him for his athletics, not so much for his court on the play, because I think a lot like Derrick Rose and Russell Westbrook, his antics and his sort of high flying style does not attribute to winning basketball in the playoffs. So he's not on the list. So Jalen Brunson, by the way, who got hurt last year for the Knicks, I love Jalen Brunson, but and he's certainly valuable because their team is dog water without him. As great as he is, he didn't make the Eastern Conference Finals last year, or I think he would have been on this list. And again, he got hurt where Anthony Edwards did not. And so that's why I have Anthony Edwards at number 10. Now, ever since the Karl-Anthony Towns trade this year, Minnesota has not been the same team. And as you heard in my NBA playoff predictions, I don't think they're going to go on a deep run. But Anthony Edwards now has pedigree. He has history of being a 22-year-old to take his team to the Western Conference Finals. He's been great as of late. Though my one worry about him is he did say he does not want to be the face of the league. That is a red flag, but he is so young. He's so dynamic. He is so talented. I don't think what he did a year ago was a fluke. And I think that he could put the Superman cape on his back and win the Timberwolves a potential series. I just don't see it. Uh, so, but for that reason, because of what he did mostly last year in the postseason, because he's so young, because of the projecting talent that I think he will be, I'll put him here at 10 over an older Kawhi Leonard who is often hurt, over a John Moran who you can't trust, and over a Jimmy Butler who in the postseason can be great, but he can also be very moody and he does not seem like the same player that he was down in Miami. Jamal Murray is kind of in a weird situation because last year going into this, I thought he was a top 4, top 5 player going into the playoffs because of his playoff ability and the clutch gene and because of how good he could be. Sort of that one beat of Jokic, which allowed Denver to win the championship. He was playing at that top point guard level, even though he had never made an all-star game in his career and still hasn't. But reportedly, he may be back for the playoffs. We don't know. He's injured again. It's sort of been his history. You can't trust him. And it does feel like more often than not, ever since the championship year, he's disappeared when it matters the most for Denver. So, again, here's my list of the top 10 players entering this year's NBA playoffs. And this does not include guys like Victor Wembanyama or Kevin Durant who are not in the postseason. These are just playoff players. Number 1, Nikola Jokic. Number 2, LeBron James. Number 3, Luka Doncic. Number 4, Steph Curry. Number 5, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Number 6, Jaylen Brown. Number 7, Jason Tatum. Number 8, Donovan Mitchell. Number 9, Giannis Antetokounmpo. And number 10, Anthony Edwards. I think 2 through 5, we can debate the order. LeBron, Luka, Steph, SGA. I tend to take playoff experience here over youth. SGA needs to prove it to me for an entire finals run. And I think 6 through 10, when you have Brown, Tatum, Mitchell, Giannis, and I know you guys are going to put Giannis way higher, but Giannis hasn't played a lot in the last 2 postseasons. And in my opinion, you could put guys like Kawhi Leonard on there, but he's always hurt. You can put a guy like John Moran on there, but when he's doing gun and grenade celebrations and he's more cares about his hops than oops, I don't think John Moran's going to be a very productive playoff player in his career. Jimmy Butler and Jamal Murray are both great NBA players, but Jimmy Butler has not been the same since leading the Heat to the finals 2 years ago. Jamal Murray has been constantly hurt the last couple of years, and I am projecting here Then again, I think Donovan Mitchell helped lead the Cavs to a championship where Giannis and Jalen Brunson get a woman early. I think Anthony Edwards has the resume to where last year was so good, he's got to be on this list. Like that clip from the Brands World podcast? If so, make sure you go down there and hit that subscribe button. While you're down there hitting the subscribe button, make sure to also hit the notification bell so you never miss another upload. And make sure you check out all the other clips from the Brands World podcast right here on YouTube.